The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to explore and explain key features of texts and how they contribute to meaning. Learners should be able to describe plot, subplot, character portrayal, conflict, and dramatic purpose.
Hi there everyone. It's been said that Romeo and Juliet is one of the greatest love stories ever, and it certainly has been retold in many different ways by people like movie makers and composers. Close your eyes and listen to this piece of music. In the 1870s, the composer Tchaikovsky wrote an orchestral piece based on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. It starts off with music representing Friar Lawrence, interrupted with the clattering of the warring families, and then it portrays the young lovers. Another composer by the name of Prokofiev wrote the music for a ballet named Romeo and Juliet that has been performed in South Africa many times. Let's hear how ballet dancers experience this tragic tale.
Hi, my name is Xenia Tacheva. The role of Juliet is every ballet dancer's dream to do. It's about forbidden love, and two young people fall in love, and there's nothing that can stop their love from being there.
Dancing Romeo has been one of the greatest challenges in my career so far. There's so many aspects to making a good Romeo. Not only the technical ability of being able to pull it off and the difficulty of the steps that are required, but the emotional aspect that goes with this character. I think a love story isn't complete without death. And in Romeo and Juliet, you see death just about in every scene between Tybalt, Romeo ultimately killing Tybalt killing Mercutio. There's so many different sides to it. And I think this makes it one of the greatest love stories that we can see today.
Shakespeare wasn't the first writer to have recognized the story of the two star-crossed lovers as good material. The first tale originated in Italy a century before he wrote the play in 1595. It is possible that Shakespeare knew the poem Romeo and Juliet by Arthur Brooke that was written years before the first performance of his play. So, why is Shakespeare's version of the story the one that people remember? A possible reason could be his beautiful use of the English language. No one remembers Brooke's line, "What hap have I to love my foe?" But everyone remembers Shakespeare's Juliet complaining about her bad luck to have fallen in love with her enemy. "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo?" In the previous lesson, we started with a brief synopsis of the events in the play. By the end of Act 3, Romeo and Juliet have married. Romeo has killed Juliet's cousin Tybalt, and therefore has to flee the city. Meanwhile, Juliet's parents decide that she has to marry Paris, and there's nothing that she can do to stop them. Now, let's see how the story continues. The friar tries to slow down the Capulets' wedding plans. After all, he had already married Juliet to Romeo, and so he can't marry her off to Paris too. Friar Lawrence then comes up with a desperate plan. He gives Juliet a powerful drug. When Juliet takes it, everyone will think she's dead, but she won't be completely dead. After she's put to rest, the friar will break into the tomb and rescue her. He sends a letter to Romeo telling him of the plan so that Romeo can take Juliet away. Juliet takes the drug. The next morning, her family finds her, apparently dead. They carry her to the family tomb. Unfortunately, the friar's letter never reaches Romeo. Instead, Romeo hears the news that Juliet is dead. He buys some poison and plans to kill himself next to Juliet's body, and then rushes back to Verona. The friar learns that his letter did not reach Romeo, so he heads to the Capulet tomb to take Juliet with him until he can reach Romeo. As you might expect, the timing just doesn't work out right. Romeo gets to the tomb before the friar. He finds Paris there, mourning for Juliet. They fight, and Romeo kills Paris. Romeo breaks into the tomb, takes the poison at Juliet's side, and utters his last heartbreaking words. "O true apothecary, thy drugs are quick, thus with a kiss I die." Juliet's drug wears off just as the friar arrives. He tries to make Juliet leave, but she sees the dead bodies around her and refuses to follow. He gets scared and runs off. Juliet takes Romeo's dagger and stabs herself and follows Romeo in death. The prince arrives and the friar spills the beans. With the whole truth out and dead bodies littering the stage, the families finally reconcile and end their feud. The play ends with a speech by Prince Aeschylus. "A glooming peace this morning with it brings. The sun for sorrow will not show his head. Go hence to have more talk of these sad things. Some shall be pardoned, some shall be punished. For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo." So let's consider the question again. Why read a story when you know how it ends? Although we now know how the story goes, it is actually just the beginning of our study of the play because many questions crop up at this point. Who is Romeo Montague and why does he fall in love so quickly? Does he help to bring about his tragic fate? Does Juliet's love for Romeo cloud her good sense? Does she have a bad relationship with her parents? Speaking of parents, what's the matter with the four in this play? Are they uncaring monsters or are they doing the best they can for their children? Are Romeo and Juliet's deaths their parents' fault? Or have they fulfilled their responsibilities to their children? These are very relevant questions. The world Shakespeare creates in Romeo and Juliet is not merely an imaginary setting where a few hours of entertainment takes place. It is like real life. It's complicated, frustrating, and a joy to experience. To find answers to these questions, we need to understand the plot very well. So think about these questions again. How do the events in the play fit together? Where are the climatic moments? Which circumstances influence the development of the plot? And what were the character motivations that led to the tragedy? Whenever you are asked to discuss a play, you will need to have some understanding of what the plot of the play is all about and how to discuss the plot. Now that we have looked at a synopsis of the play, it is time to really get involved with the plot. By the end of this lesson, you will have revised the term plot. Do you remember what is meant by the term plot? Many learners say that the plot is the same as the story of the play, but it is more than this. When we discuss plot, we look at what happens and also why it happens, the cause and effect. One incident develops out of another or adds to another. This builds up a feeling of excitement and tension in the audience. So, the plot of a play is designed to have a particular effect on the audience, to make them laugh, or cry, or feel afraid. The story is structured in such a way that the plot reaches a climax, a crisis, or moment of decision. If you have a copy of the book, you'll see that it begins with a prologue. Is a piece spoken before the play that begins to introduce the audience to the play. In Shakespeare's day, the chorus would have delivered the prologue. The chorus was one of the actors. Imagine that you are in the audience. You have come to see Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Everyone is talking excitedly, and then suddenly you hear a fanfare of trumpets or the banging of a stick on the stage. You look around, and there's the actor about to begin. You sit back and listen to these words.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured, piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage, the which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
In a group, read the prologue again and then discuss what information is given about the plot. Make sure to take notes during the discussion. See you soon.